When we look at protection, we have to look at the all-encompassing features of protection. That means not just physically, guys, especially in today's world, not just physically. That means spiritually, energetically, emotionally. It encompasses at least four different areas, and three of those are typically neglected by the men that love to hang their hats on the protector role. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Art of Masculinity. Diving in today on the protector. Now, some of you guys are going to get probably triggered by this one. And that just means you probably need to do a little more work on yourself. But we're going to dive into this because the fact that I've seen way too much of this idea that the protector is only somebody who physically shows up, only who's somebody that can physically do something in the aspect of just a life-threatening situation. Now, a lot of guys pride themselves on this. They're like, hey, man, I am the protector. Like, I can shoot a gun. I can fight. I can hold my ground. I don't back down verbally. Like, they think that because of their presence in a physical scenario, that they are the protector. And like when we talk about this, when we talk about kind of the pedigree of a protector in the ancestral sense, that actually made sense. That was the predominant theme for a protector. That was what men had to do. And not only that, but, communication wise, that was their role. And the women were very much, and the children were very much a tighter environment of being tribes. And therefore, they could lean on one another for a lot of different things, right? So this is going to bleed into what we talk about a little bit later. But when we look at the aspect of masculinity of men in society today and that protector role, men are so far away from what that protector role encompasses in today's world that all of these men just showing up acting as if they can just do something physical and be deemed a protector and all of a sudden they're a savior and a savant for men. That's not true. And more importantly, is it not true is the fact that a lot of those men have very unhappy relationships, whether it's with their kids, whether it's with their wives, they have very unhappy relationships because they're not truly a protector. And what do I mean by this? When we look at protection, we have to look at the all-encompassing features of protection. That means not just physically, guys, especially in today's world, not just physically. That means spiritually. That means energetically. That means emotionally. It encompasses at least four different areas, and three of those are typically neglected by the men that love to hang their hats on the protector role. Now, it's not to say that they're bad dudes and they can't give those other forms of protection. The first thing to say about it is that majority of them are just so unaware of the other three pieces attached to the physicality that they just don't even know what the fuck that even means. Like, for instance, if I ask them, how are you protecting energy? I'm there. Oh, okay. So how are you protecting energy? Well, I'm there. No, that's not how you're protecting energy. It's also the space that you come into and your energetic output. Being a physical protector does not mean that you embody a safe energetic state in which most other people are going to be like, that dude's not safe. Kids will not feel safe around you. Women will not feel safe around you. Just because you are a protector in one sense, if you have no concept of how to hold your energy, you are not a protector in energy. Emotionally, are you a protector emotionally? Well, okay, take a look at it. Do people feel safe to completely emotionally open up to you? Because they won't feel judged. They won't feel beaten down. They won't feel negative effects from you, but they actually get support and love and non-judgment from you. Is that your role? Majority of men, you're not. You're not that, because you guys base yourselves on what I love to call the realist, right? And the realist is all about taking people down because they're like, well, you may have this pie in the sky vision in life of like money and wealth and business and relationships, but the reality of things is X, Y, and Z. That's the realist. And that's pretty much majority of men out there. Almost all of them that I've come across, right? Very seldomly are they actually supportive and lift that person up and emphasize the ability for them to achieve higher heights, right? We call that the king of average is what we're calling this. And I talk about this in my book, Design the Man Within. But when we get to that, emotionally, most men are not emotionally safe. So they might have physical, but we've already discussed they're not energetically safe. Emotionally, they're typically not emotionally safe. Boys don't feel like they can go to them when they're really struggling, which is causing the dysfunction between the older generation of men and the younger generation of men, which is also causing a friction and also causing a break in what these younger generation of men are learning, which is why they're being tossed around by society and they have no fundamental understanding of how to be a strong man because they can't even go to the men that say that they're strong, right? And so you have that emotionally, and then you have the energetic, and then you have the spiritual. Are you supported spiritually? Now, whether that means God, whether that means, some other deity, whether that means universe or I would say energetically, it's kind of like ethereally, but like when we say universe, whatever it is, like, are you spiritually safe to have those conversations and to also give people the capacity to feel seen and heard and valued in their own spiritual connection? Now, it doesn't matter if their beliefs line with yours, but spiritually, are you there for them? Spiritually, can you have those conversations and still support them regardless of what their beliefs are, and also give them that outlet as a man? That is a protector. He protects that spiritual space. Not only that, but when you get into some of these conversations, especially when it comes to like plant medicine, which we've talked about on this show, but when you get into the plant medicine, your energetic field is open, and then people can energetically interact with you in very weird ways. Are you a man that can still protect that space for people? And a lot of guys I don't find are. Are you a man that can spiritually protect that space for people? A lot of men are not. And these are the questions that we have to ask. And so when I look at men and I hear about this protector environment, or I hear about this belief that they're a protector, I have to ask the question, in what capacity? And if you can't really name off all four capacities of being a protector, then are you truly a protector? So the current misconception is based around an ancestral viewpoint of the protector that it no longer exists just in one singular capacity. And what did I mean by this earlier? We're going to get to that. What did I mean by this earlier? Where women and children had other ways to lean on each other. So the men didn't necessarily have to provide this, was because of the fact that the tribes were so close together and they were constantly in conversation. I mean, the women literally would band together to get certain functions done for the tribe, and they were together all the time with the children. So they were able to lean on each other for emotional safety and spiritual safety and energetic safety. And what the men were they were actually the physical protectors. Now, granted, their lives consisted of physical protection day in and day out. Why? Because of the fact that they were constantly under threat of survival. So the men had to do this. They were out hunting and they were protecting. Like, that was their role. Physical, hunting, protecting. Got it, right? That's what I'm saying. When the women were so close in that environment, they could lean on each other for those other areas of life, but we are no longer that way anymore. Today's society, some of your best friends probably don't even live within the proximity of 100 miles of you. Not only that, you can go ahead and message them, but that doesn't give the same feeling of somebody being present with you. And usually the men are isolated with their families. Their families are not within a tight tribe as we used to be, right? Obviously. So when you're isolated as a family, your tribe now consists of your male, your female, and then your kids. On top of that, now you start to look at each other for the support system that we used to get from other people within our tight-knit tribe, and you guys are responsible for providing that to each other. Now, a lot of the times the woman is very good at providing some of these other areas in which they can make a man feel safe. But the man in reciprocity needs to provide the same in today's environment. That is a holistic view of the protector. He has to be able to provide that in today's environment because he is charged now with those added duties because of the isolation. And I'm not saying that just because you have people around you, you're not isolated. You're isolated because we spend much more time as just a single unit family than we did as a community. That's not really up for conversation because it's just a fact. You can look at your own life. Tell me that I'm wrong. The point is if we're going to pretend that we're the ultimate protectors as men, then we actually have to embody that ultimate protector as a man. And that means that it's not just physical. You're failing, and get this deep in you, because I take this as a challenge even for myself. Get this deep in you. You are failing as a protector if you cannot protect physically, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. If you cannot build a protector around those and have people feel safe with you, men, women, and children, if you cannot do that, then you are not the all-encompassing protector that you hope people see you as. So for all my tough dudes out there who believe just because they're a hunter or they practice jujitsu every day or they shoot, whatever, you're not a full protector if those people cannot feel safe in the other capacities around you. And that is a challenge for you that you have maybe excelled in one area, and it's time to look at these other areas so you can truly be the embodiment of what it is to be a healthy man in today's society. We have changed, and with it, we must evolve with our environment. And that requires us to be a different version of masculinity than it was when we were with our ancestors, or as we evolved as our ancestors did, right? We are charged with different levels of protectionism. Is that even a word? But in any case, we are charged with different levels of protection. And we have to take that on, number one, as our responsibility, but number two, as a challenge. We shouldn't run from that. And it doesn't make you soft to be able to protect in all of those capacities. It actually, obviously, would make you a stronger man because there's no need for people to feel unsafe around you. This is where like the conversation comes up where a woman's like, they feel unsafe with you. And you're like, but I'm here. And you're like, no, they're like, I get it. You're here. And physically, I feel safe with you. But emotionally, the level in which women tend to play more often than men, emotionally, they're not safe. They don't feel as though they're protected, and they don't feel as though they can be honest and open in that capacity or even understood. And that's where we as men have this opportunity to really evolve, not just as men, but as protectors. And I want men to be there. I really do. And for all the guys that can hold emotional space and spiritual space and energetic space, you need to challenge yourself to be that physical protector, because you're not an all-encompassing protector either. It goes both ways, right? And so I have done extensive amounts of my own development on this, and I still don't hit the mark all the time. But at the end of the day, I've started to see more progression in people feeling safe around me just by meeting me, not even knowing my background, me just talking to them as a normal human being. They will mention even towards the end of that conversation that they feel, I've heard this so many times, they feel safe around me. And that's a great compliment to me because it had nothing to do with me physically. It had everything to do with me emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. And they felt as though they were in a fully safe environment to be themselves. And if we're going to be leaders of the next generation, if we're going to give women the aspect of masculinity that they deserve as we're all evolving as a society, we need to take this challenge on. So give yourself the ability to question and be honest with yourself about where you land on the level of safety emotionally, energetically, spiritually, and physically, and even ask some of the people in your life that you love to be honest about it and see what the feedback is. And don't get hurt about it. It just becomes raw feedback in which you get to take that data, process it, and then implement some form of change if it's not the data points you desire to have. It's a complex ability to be a protector in today's environment. And it's not just physically. In all honesty, physical part of being a protector is incredibly important. And it's also equally almost not as important, because your chances of something bad happening to you in today's environment, the percentage chance of something happening to you that's physically harmful is not very high. But the emotional, spiritual, and energetic you interact with 99% of the time. 99% of every day you're interacting with that. So if you think about it this way, and that statistic's made up, that's just me throwing that out there. But I mean, I would say that, you're obviously interacting with energy, spiritual, and emotions every single day, predominantly throughout the day. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. But regardless, the point is that a majority of your day is spent with these other three things. And the one thing that you're priding yourself on is not even the thing that you may even interact with ever in your life, ever in your life. But you're trying to perfect it and continue to train on it when you've let the other three areas of being a protector slide by the wayside and you've never even thought about them. So give yourself the ability to encompass the full level of being a protector. Give yourself the ability to ask yourself where you can do better as that, and then embody this new age 2.0 masculine protector who has all of those features. Not only will the people in your life gain more respect for you and more value for you, but they're also just going to feel a different level of connection to you, especially your spouse and especially your kids. And if those are the most important to us in our immediate environment, then we should be looking for ways to improve those relationships. And this is a way that you can do this as a man. So I hope something sank in with you on this. If you feel challenged, take on that challenge. If you feel hurt, do some work on yourself and ask yourself why you feel hurt, because I'm challenging you with this protector mindset in a different way than it's ever been spoken to you ever. So let this sink in. I hope that you guys take this seriously. And if you're looking for ways to improve as the protector and as just a man in this world, make sure you guys head over to Amazon.com, grab my book, Design the Man Within. If you haven't gotten it, it's getting great reviews on Amazon. We hit number 13 bestseller in men's health when this came out, and it's just continuing to climb upward and upward. So truly grateful for everybody who has bought the book and given a review. And if you haven't bought the book, go take the time. I mean, it's literally, less than a freaking $1 a day if you try to buy it, less than a coffee a day. It's like for like a week, whatever. It's like $14 or $10, I think, even right now on Amazon. So do yourself a favor, go grab it. Give yourself the ability to improve in some of these areas so you can be that complete 2.0 version of masculinity that we're all looking to evolve to. All right, everybody. As always, the world deserves a better caliber of man, and it is our responsibility to give it to them.